theaters, and of course you'll be able to see it later on wherever you watch, and they have it available. We'll figure that out. The movie is called Church People, and it's by a group of people. One of the producers is a friend of mine, and a gentleman you may have seen on Life Today before. His name is Stephen Baldwin. But today I have the lead actor from this upcoming film to talk to me about the movie and Christian movies and whatever else we decide to talk about. First of all, I'm going to let you get a peek of Church People opening this weekend. So check this out, and then we'll come back and we will talk with actor Michael Monks. Watch this.
I told you if we broke attendance records, I'd get the church logo tattooed on my arm.
Skip, remember back when we first started? All we did was preach the gospel.
Ooh, Superman works. I like Superman. Guy, what do you think?
What happened to you?
Me? Your dad is the one with the gimmicks.
The power of the Holy Spirit propels us.
I just want the church to get back to the gospel.
Problem is you're trying to get your message across.
The gospel?
Right. And ain't nobody listening to that.
Good preacher. I need something big. Amen?
The resurrection.
Bigger than anything we've ever done. National headlines.
Preach on the death and resurrection of Jesus.
Plan. An actual crucifixion.
Uh-oh.
By placing the nails through your palms in the right place, we hope to avoid major nerve damage.
Operation Stop Skip is a go. That's awesome.
You have to cancel this Good Friday stunt.
Don't be so dramatic, honey. Ooh. I like the ones.
Been praying for you. Yes.
This could be beneficial for all parties involved.
We foster a yes environment here.
God wanted me. Mary, you could be my wife.
I have an answer for you.
That is Church People opening up this weekend, and you can check out the website for the details. But right now we're going to talk to who was in the Superman attire there. And Michael Monks is an actor. You'll probably recognize him. The IMDb list is long, includes a lot of great television shows like The Practice, Bones, Criminal Minds, NCIS, Friends, Home Improvement, and also a movie on Netflix called Parallels. And if you happen to see Dr. Sleep, if you're into that genre, I admit that I am. He had a great part in that one. Michael Monks, great to have you on Life Today Live. All right, so I guess the first question that a Christian audience, typically my audience, is going to wonder is, why would someone with this great resume of, main terminology actually we have, but not in a blatantly Christian movie or a mainstream TV show or whatever, why would you be in a pretty openly Christian film?
What I loved about it is that it was about real people struggling with something. And as an actor, we're always looking for characters that are interesting to portray or resonate with us. And I found it so intriguing. It was a comedy, and I had not seen a lot of Christian comedy movies. And I thought the message was great about my character was a man struggling with the application of his faith at his church, and how he gets caught up and sort of loses his way a bit. And Skip's intentions are good, sort of how he acts them out aren't always so effective with following his faith. So it was great to see the arc of the movie about that struggle to get back to what was true to him. So as an actor, a character who has a journey of an arc is always really enjoyable to play because there's real growth from some place to someplace. I love this about this movie is that it felt like they were real people, anybody you would meet.
You had a lot of good supporting cast. So, of course, the Baldwin brothers, Joey Fatone. I mean, you this is not a lightweight film. Talent goes. How was it working with those guys?
You know, it was interesting working with Joey. I mean, I was familiar with his singing group, but I didn't realize until he sang on set the level of chops this guy has. His voice is amazing. I mean, I was blown away, let alone he was funny and very personable. And we all got along. We all were having such a good time on the movie because it was fun. And I've been a big fan of Stevens. I like to joke that now I've worked with 3 of the 4 Baldwin brothers because I did a movie with Daniel. And Billy's in this and Stevens in this. I've yet to work with Alec. So I've done the trifecta. I'm looking for the quinella, of Baldwins.
Good luck on that one.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is there, when it comes to production, most people can't relate to life on a set. Was this one, typical of movies, or was there something unique about working on a Christian film?
It was, I guess there was a commonality because of the faith that with the people involved in the film. It was typical in the fact that, production, what I love too is everyone's working common goal. I remember the first movie I ever was on is back in New York in a student film, and I was just so impressed with everybody taking their job so seriously. Whether it was a grip, whether that was a gaffer, whether it was makeup, it was like all supporting this whole, which I think is also a great message just towards life, that we're all trying to support everybody. It takes a village,
Yeah.
And it was very exciting because a lot of us, or Thor, myself, and Stephen, Christopher, the director, had been involved in this for 6 years before we got to roll cameras. So it was just that kind of excitement to come to fruition of something we'd all wanted for so long.
Yeah,
So
I think there's a sermon there, actually. I actually was a film major in college. Obviously, I didn't go that direction in life, but you're right. If one person doesn't do their job, which may seem like the small job, you could be a best boy or craft service or something. Somebody doesn't do their job, it brings the whole thing down real fast. So there's no unimportant thing when you're all working towards that common goal. It's good. It's good.
it's really true. In fact, one time I had a small part in a movie that Mark Rydell directed, and it was about the Lindbergh baby kidnapping. And we were on a set, and there was probably 150 background performers. And while I had dialogue, I was kind of lumped in there. And he sat down and basically gave this speech about how important every one of the background performers was. So make this movie without you. We can't make this movie without anybody on set. Like you said, best boy, gaffer, craft services, wardrobe, everybody. So it really is a collaboration about all with a common goal, which is really spectacular to be a part of that sort of moving towards something positive.
Yeah, and if it doesn't all come together in the right way, we've seen those movies before, right?
Yes, we have.
I'm curious. So 2021, things are still not back to normal, but what's it been like for the last year for an actor?
Well, I also teach acting. We jumped right online when we had the lockdown, so we didn't miss much of a beat that way, which has been real interesting because it also forces people to, because the industry has gone this way, auditions now are self-tapes. We tape them at home with ourselves and submit them. So, and I work with a lot of clients because I do a lot of coaching as well, because I teach and I coach. But auditions have moved forward. A lot of stuff, there is some stuff shooting. Now it's starting to really open up. Like last week, I auditioned for 5 different things, 2 big movies, a TV series, and I have an audition for a movie that's due on Monday. So it's real interesting that the beauty of self-tapes is you can do it till you get it right. The other side of that is you can do it until you get it, which means you can spend 3 hours. I had one the other night, I could not get the words out of my mouth. It was pretty funny. And
Yeah,
And
I bet you're your biggest critic as well.
yes, of course, you watch it back and you, oh man, I want to change that one moment, 5-page take, and it's okay. At some point, you gotta let it go.
Yeah. The other thing that's kind of weird these days is the distribution of films. You know, of course, Church People is going to be in theaters for a Fathom event, which is an interesting thing within the whole industry itself.
Right.
And so people can check that out. By the way, I should show the. Oh, that's your IMDb. I was cheap. This is churchpeoplefilm.com. Churchpeoplefilm.com, and so you can check out the trailer again. You can get updates and see how you can see it. You can also get this movie in church if you want to show this a youth group or just a church screen to get people to come check it out. But that's an interesting thing. I actually like the way when you look at the OTT platforms, Netflix and Amazon Prime, PureFlix even. It seems to me like there's been a little bit of a shift away from some of the power brokers and back into the hands of some of the creative people to do their work and get it out. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, there was, at a time there, interesting in the film industry and television industry, you be able to own the stuff you broadcast. Like NBC couldn't own NBC shows. They couldn't put NBC shows on NBC. And that changed back in the 90s, and we had a real consolidation. And all of a sudden, you used to have hundreds of content creators, and they got squashed into about 13. Now, with the introduction of Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, streaming services that are creating original content, it's great because it has expanded again and opened up way more material to be done, which is kind of exciting,
What do you think that does for people that are wanting to make faith-based content? Because that's been a hard one, historically, a hard one to kind of push through with some of the more, the power brokers, the studios or the networks, until a few films came and got their attention that, hey, these can be big money makers, because that's the bottom line. You got to keep making money or you can't keep making films. We know that. But do you see people like Steven, people that want to be doing something with a message that they may not be able to get with a studio? They have an outlet now. Are you seeing any explosion in that area?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just think because there's so much airtime that needs to be filled now.
Yeah.
And so many people are looking, and whether your niche is horror, whether it's faith-based, whether it's suspense, thriller, comedy, faith-based movies can cross over into mainstream if it's a good message, it's well produced, and it's an interesting. That's what I truly loved about Church People from the beginning, is that I just like this. And it is about a Christian church and their struggles and their personal foibles, which is always interesting to watch, the human dynamic of how we solve our problems. And I think all of this is good for the viewer, because people have to produce content for people that want to watch movies or TV shows.
I will say that the Christian niche has been a difficult one for different genres. I mean, obviously the drama is the go-to, unless you can retell a Bible story, but again, that's drama typically. Comedies, there have been a few. There have been even fewer funny ones, unfortunately. But I don't know if you followed them, but I've been to some screeners of some Christian comedies that were painful, just painful. I'm watching the audience; they're not laughing. That's not a good sign when you got a comedy. I wish the Christian horror genre would really blossom, because I've got some treatments on some screenplays I'd love to pitch. Right.
Scripts.
But I did actually pitched a comedy several years ago to a Christian group, and they didn't tell me their rules. And I was like, oh, you can't talk about sex? You can't have alcohol in it? And it was all these, I was like, really? Maybe you've been not in the tight Christian world enough, so I'm maybe asking a question that you haven't experienced. But was it hard doing a comedy that it's a little irreverent at times? People will think, at least.
Well, because it's interesting because Christopher, the director, posted the trailer on Facebook, and there were some comments that thought this was not a good thing. So, like, wait a minute, are you mocking something?
Right.
And what's interesting, and harking back to, we were talking about previous Christian movies that I felt like often they feel restrained, that they can't show people really struggling.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, we're good Christians being good Christians. And it's like, okay, well, that's great, but we all struggle. And that's what comedy comes out of. As a teacher, comedy comes out of desperation, the desperate need to get something and the obstacles that stand in your way, right? So this is a classic example of how the comedy is created in our movie, because these characters are desperate to achieve something and they're struggling with finding their way there. And whether it's Skip's misguided attempt to actually hold a real crucifixion, whether it's, whatever it is, because we've got to give characters room to grow. So, but if they start with everything okay, there's nowhere to go with it. These characters are struggling, and we get to watch their struggle and root for them.
I remember the first time I saw the trailer to this. Steven showed it to me on his phone. And when they got to the part about wanting to do a real crucifixion, I was like, dude, no, what are you doing? How do you think audiences, y'all had enough screeners to know how audiences are going to react, Christian audiences are going to react to this?
I don't, but I posted it on a group from my high school. Where I grew up in Colorado, in school in Denver. And a lot of the people that responded to it were like, great, I've worked in the Christian community for a long time, this looks fantastic. I heard a lot of positive feedback about the trailer, that it was, again, I was, knowing that it's that genre, I don't think people would assume the movie's going to do something that would mock Jesus, mock the faith. So it's a supportive movie saying, hey, we're part of. Thor had, in the original teaser, had this brilliant line. They said, who said Christians aren't funny? Christians are always funny, it's not on purpose. Now, I think that is charming beyond all belief. But nobody thinks you're funny when you're trying to do something. Because if you're trying to be funny, it's not funny.
Yeah.
It's that human dynamic that we laugh at, because we've all been there.
Yeah, oh no, I do. That's great. That's a great line, and it's so true. I've been around them. God, I could tell you some stories. Okay, so for those who are now going, what do you think? You've touched on it, but what do you think the bottom line message people should get out of this is? Is it just the authenticity, the struggle, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think people are going to like these characters and like what their intentions are and what they're trying to achieve. Yeah. And I don't want to spoil the end of the movie for you, but it has a beautiful message in the end that is really sweet and is what has always drawn me to it. And it's positive, and I think anybody can relate to it, whatever your faith, whatever your struggle.
Yeah.
That we're trying to get back on track to what we know is the right path for us.
How do non-Christians, because you work around them all the time, how do non-Christians react to Christian films like this?
I think, and again, if we go down to the bottom, the most common denominator is it a good story? Is it well acted? Is it well produced? Okay, let's watch it, And again, there are movies that pound you over the head with their message. I don't think this does that. This presents it and says, come on this journey with us, and hopefully it resonates with you. And I think it can resonate with anybody, whether that's Christians or non-Christians, or I think just it's got a real open message for anyone, which is what I loved about it.
Yeah, I like that. You want to know what my favorite Christian movie is? And I'm about to offend most of my audience.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Seven,
Okay.
right?
And I know
Brad,
where you're going with that. Yeah.
Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman. And my contention is that not only is it just based on the seven deadly sins, but it shows scriptural truth. And it shows the ugly side of not adhering to that truth. So I am of the mind that yes, it's great sometimes. You have an altar call at the end of your film. I think that's totally appropriate. But I think there's room in the Christian audience for films that don't beat you over the head with the message, that are more subtle, that are more parables, and that show, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Which Seven is probably the ugly side, but great film. What do you think?
Well,
What do you think
I'm
Christians could do to make better films?
Well, I was going to address briefly what you said about Seven, because what's interesting about that is, as an actor, we can't judge our character, even if they do things that society judges negatively, because people do stuff out of a human need, whether that's distorted or not, is for someone to make a determination. But as an actor, to embody a character, whether you think of the characters in Seven that do the things they do, right? Now that's being driven out of some need. Now, I think the space in Christian movies is to allow characters to, because we have the human dynamic on all spectrums. We have from the really, really good to the really, really bad. But we are all still human, right? And so that's our commonality. We're all from the same group. That's our village. We're the human village. So I think it's opening up the scope of what, like you're saying, you can look at a movie and see it as a message, even though it's not trying to drive you over the head with it.
Yeah, good. All right, we're talking about the movie Church People. This is the website here, churchpeoplefilm.com. You can check that out, and it does open this weekend in some theaters and possibly churches. Something that your church could do. I don't know, depending on where you live and the restrictions of COVID, I don't even works anymore. But to be able to show a film, I know that was always the most packed nights at my church growing up. It was because we had movie night. We actually had them in the parking lot after football games. But a film is a great way to get people that might not normally come to church to come to church. And if you show them this trailer, they might just laugh enough to show up and hear the real message. So check out churchpeoplefilm.com and go see it in the theaters, get it at your church, whatever you need to do. Let me ask you, we're also talking to Michael Monks, not just the lead character in Church People, but really a man with a great resume of acting. And so you're sitting here going, where have I seen him before? Well, lots of places. So you go, just Google Michael Monks. You'll be reading for a couple minutes. I'm curious, what do you think Christians can do through film and related creative arts to utilize the arts to communicate the message they want to communicate? Because let's face it, most people are not watching this interview that I'm doing right here. They're off watching a Netflix series or something, I think because the arts, I think Christians have been scared of the arts and drama and theater and things like that. What would you encourage Christians that want to use the medium to get their message out maybe to do? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think we've kind of touched on it, is tell a human story.
Yeah.
I mean, basically it's just tell a story that's interesting, because we all relate to stories. We've all been frightened. We've all struggled. We've all been, we've all made mistakes. We've all regretted things. We've all been joyous and happy. So if we tell stories that have a faith element to it, and that to me is what's always, is interesting, that whether it's the whole movie's that, or whether it doesn't have to all be that. It could bring an element of it that expresses itself or motivates or helps a character evolve into an understanding of something about themselves, because we're all seeking that for ourselves.
Yep.
On some level.
Okay, I got just a couple minutes left, so I'll play a little game with you. I got a big Hollywood actor on the show, so I got to take advantage of this. All right. Favorite thing you've been in?
Man, that's always such a tough question. So they're all great. I love nothing more than being on set. But the thing I told you about Parallels, which is actually on Amazon Prime now, was on Netflix.
Okay.
But so enjoyable. This was a movie that was one of my really great experiences on set. It's always great when you have a big part and you've got this fun character, and I sort of just got to take the restraints off and let Skip fly.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to check that one out. Will you tell me your worst experience or not?
I can tell you, I can, and it was more that it was about a conflict on a set. And I don't want to tell you the movie. The director actually is no longer with us.
Fair enough.
Who gave me a lot of problems. But it was one of those last minute bookings, got to set, big movie stars. Walked in, I had one scene. They didn't give me the dialogue until I was in the elevator on the way up to the set. I get there, they hand me the dialogue at the page, and they're ready to shoot because they were waiting on me because of the character's cast last minute. And then the last second, the director said, "Oh, we're in Dallas. Can you do a Southern accent? Let's go."
You know, as someone from Dallas, I hate that stereotype. Do I sound like I'm from Dallas to you? Come on.
And the worst part was it was what they call in the industry a oneer. So the whole scene is shot in one pushing shot. So if anything goes wrong, you got to start over.
And it's probably your fault, the guy they just brought in, right?
Yeah, exactly. But that was the day that, and I was quite young at the time. I wasn't giving the director what he wanted, and I didn't agree with what he did want for the character. I would handle that much differently now.
You know, I'm sure he wanted to hear all about what you thought the character should be doing.
Exactly. No thanks.
Okay. I had these questions in my head, and that made me laugh. What's next? What's next for you?
I have a couple things. I did a movie called Fuego that was shot. We shot down in Guatemala, and it's about a man. His name is Steve Miller, I believe. He owns an organization, a humanitarian organization that goes down and helps the indigenous people in Guatemala become self-sufficient. They sell these stoves because the Guatemalan people, they cook over open fire a lot, and the women have health issues. It's dangerous because their hair catches on fire. They've created these stoves that they allow them to purchase at a minimal rate, and the money they save on wood and all this is allowing them to become their own business owners. And they work with farmers, and it's a beautiful movie, also about kind of doing the right thing.
Huh.
And that is
true story.
True story, based on a true man.
Nice.
And based on true events. I won't say it's a true depiction, but it's based on a real man and his story, and he's from Dallas, believe it or not.
Huh.
So, and great. Shot that. That should be coming out soon. I did a short movie called Synth. It's based on artificial intelligence, which is becoming a thing now.
Yeah.
And about sort of the struggle of what that, what moral conundrums that presents us.
Yeah.
And so that's been winning a lot of film festivals.
Nice.
And so those are the two things. I got a couple more in the can. What else do I have in the can?
Well, let me see. Have you ever walked on a set and worked with a movie star that had you awestruck, or are they just all people to you?
No, they're not all. They are all people, but these are some of my idols. I remember doing Air Force One and having lunch with Glenn Close, and it's just kind of like, and it's just like, and then I I worked on Sabotage with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's such this guy, and he's great. And once you start talking to them, you realize they are just people.
Right.
But that's a beauty in the industry, to work with people that I've watched, and then all of a sudden you're on set with them, you're collaborating. And I did a movie with Kristen Bale, and I've done movies with Gary Oldman, and just people that I just so admire their talents.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
All right, cool. Well, I got to let you go because we've been going on for a while. This is fun, so I can keep going. Anything else you want to say before I show people the website again and let them go?
I just hope you come see the movie. I think you'll enjoy it. It has a beautiful message, and I really love this movie. And I'm so proud to be a part of it. And I hope it resonates with your audience as well as every audience, because it's really sweet.
All right. Thank you, Michael Monks. Thank you guys for watching. Check out the movie. Go see it if you can. Host it at your own church if you can. Do whatever you need to do. And support Christian film. It actually helps them make more good movies in the future when you do that. Share this, subscribe, follow. Join us again next time here on Life Today Live.
In these last days.
Thank you for joining us live on the air.
My pleasure.
Television, the drug of a nation, breeding ignorance and feeding radiation. TV.
You're the fruit. You're the fruit. You're the fruit.
Exploits